Welcome to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Mosby. Join me as I dive into powerful stories of resilience and strength. In each episode, I sit down with guests who have faced similar journeys of coercive control, financial manipulation, and personal invasion. Together, we uncover the shadows, share our experiences, and inspire others to reclaim their lives. Tune in, listen, and be a part of the community that stands tall against the forces that seek to control us. Welcome to Unveiling Shadows podcast, where we bring light to powerful stories of individuals who confront hidden truths and navigate life as targeted individuals. I'm your host, and today we have a compelling guest, Stan J. Caterbone. Stan's journey is nothing short of courageous. He's a whistleblower, post-say litigant, and the majority shareholder of Advanced Media Group, Ltd. Today, Stan joins us to share his experience, the challenges he's faced as a targeted individual, and the resilience it takes to pursue truth against formidable odds. Let's dive into his story and explore what it means to unveil shadows in the face of adversity. Happy to have you here today, Stan.
Thank you, Kimberly. I'll tell you how it started. I am Stan J. Caterbone. I'm a pro se litigant in federal, state, and local courts. I reside in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I built a financial firm in the 80s called Financial Management Group Limited. We were a large firm. We had a 20,000 square foot brand new office building and more or less a one-stop financial firm. We had accountants, attorneys, insurance people, brokers, and you could come and get a whole host of services through other professionals, not just one person. It was backed by, we were all financial planners, the founders. In 1982, I got a call from a state legislature named Gib Armstrong, and I had an account with him. He was a broker. He asked me to buy some stock in this company called International Signal and Control. They were going public, but they were going public in London, not in the United States. So I bought 1,000 shares. I knew people there, and in June 23rd, 1987, one of the partners came to see me, and he said he was from United Chemcon, which was a subsidiary of International Signal Control. I had his financial statements and everything. They wanted me to finance some of their operations, and I said no and blew the whistle. That day, as soon as he left my office, I had all my locks in my office changed by a locksmith.
Okay.
That basically started the cover up, and that started the targeting. At the same time, I was in a joint venture proposal with Tony Bongiovi and Power Station Studios in New York. We were developing the first digital movie, and I had patent work done that came 2 days after the meeting. But essentially what happened is when they started targeting me, propaganda started. Everyone turned against me. They saying I was schizophrenic and mentally ill and covered it up as that. Then in September of 1987, 3 months later, they arrested me for essentially stealing my own files out of my own office. I had 5 felonies and 4 misdemeanors by the Manheim Township Police. Thrown in prison and tortured in prison. I got released, and about a month later, a securities officer from Pennsylvania Securities and Exchange came to see me. He wanted a meeting with me, and I thought it was to resolve my problems. At the meeting, I had my attorney back then, Robert Byers, and Bill Johnson, who was a client of mine. And we had the meeting, and nothing happened. In November of 1987, I went to Good Shepherd Industries in Allentown and had 10,000 pieces of paper microfished. In December, Signal Control merged with Ferrani of England, one of their largest defense contractors. Covered me up, and in March of 88, they dismissed all the charges against me. Every single charge. But again, I was covered up.
Yeah.
Then I went on in the late 89 to 92 to build Advanced Media Group. I was one of 3 people in the country that could manufacture CD-ROMs. I helped pioneer the CD-ROM industry. I did work all over the world. In college and in high school, I aced every computer class I ever had. In 1987, I had an airplane. I had pilots. They confiscated my plane illegally one day in June of 87 and stole 6 boxes of files out of it. Now, the movie was going to be filmed down in Stone Harbor. Tony Bongiovi, he started John. John was his cousin. He owned Wildwood Boardwalk. So I had an office in Stone Harbor. I had a big bayfront house. I hired a pilot down there. He got the files back. I went on to build Advanced Media Group, they extorted that. They hit me again. ISC got indicted, one of the largest frauds in U.S. history, in November of 1991. So every cycle started over again. They break me financially. I was in prison probably 6 or 7 times. I was in 6 different psych wards, mental health warrants. Yeah. To this day, I've got a 17-year probation sentence for my neighbors stalking me. I can't go out of my house. I've been out my backyard for 2 years.
Yeah.
They threatened me, they banged on the walls, and they locked me up, and they said I did it to them. That's how
Yeah.
these courts are. Now, I also put 9 cases before the U.S. Supreme Court, pro se. Took Nicholas Cruz's case to the U.S. Supreme Court. You know, Nicholas Cruz, he killed the 26 people down in Parkland, Florida.
No, I didn't hear about that.
It was one of the major mass shootings. And he's a Manchurian assassin. A lot of these shootings are mass Manchurian assassins controlled by lights.
Yep. MK Ultra, mind control. Yeah.
My father was MK Ultra. My father was Navy. Saw my father go through this. They hit him with synthetic telepathy in the 60s. I used to work with him. I was 12, 13 at a dry cleaning plant. I used to see him talking to himself. But my dad was never crazy.
Right.
What they did to him was they electroshocked him, brainwashed him. They sent him overseas to deliver messages to other spies hypnotized. I have his passports. My mom and dad had 6 boys in this house, 1253 Mott Street. We all played football. We lived poor.
Yeah.
So they did it to him. What happened was, Alachua County Court of Common Pleas President Judge put an order in August of 1973 and made him leave the county for no reason.
Yeah.
Just to cover him up again. He left, went down to Bahamas and Florida, and then came back in 82 or 83. Ran into my brother in Florida. I had 5 brothers. My one brother played for the Miami Dolphins. I had a free agent camp in 1985 and got signed up in Ottawa. I was a certified agent for the NFLPA back in 85, 86. So I've done a lot of things. Then in the 90s, I was controller for a construction company, Flum Contractors. My last year there, our payroll was $1 million. Our biggest job was $1.7 million, just one job. I keep rising to the top, making money, then they keep extorting it and taking it away.
Yeah. They want to keep you down and they want to keep the rich rich and the poor poor. It's just like you're a lab rat in a science experiment that you didn't consent to, and they keep on doing it over and over again.
Going more than that with me, they're trying to kill me in my head. I get drugged every night with Rohypnol. Dr. John Hall wrote a book about this called Satellite Weapons America. I was on Freedom from Covert Harassment Surveillance. I was on one of the committees when he was. They did this to his girlfriend. So he recorded, put cameras in. They did it to me just about every night. They gassed me. Just like they gassed the Iranian schoolgirls over there in March. I gotta keep oxygen with me.
Yeah, I've used that before too.
And waterboard remotely. The other day, when I get down, I'm totally isolated. All my friends, family turned everybody against me. I was popular everywhere. Anyway, downtown, a guy, I had to put my pepper spray up to him. And the Atlantic City police, like I say, they arrested my old man for nothing. They were in this with my old man. They let this go on, waiting for somebody to kill me. They see it, and they let it go on. They stalk me downtown. Sometimes there's 5 or 6 policemen around me, perverted.
So it's chemical, biological, and psychological warfare is what this PsyOps co-intel program is about. I knew that I wasn't the only one. I shouldn't say I'm happy that I haven't been targeted for over 20 plus years, but the program needs to stop. I don't know how we get it to stop unless we continue to talk about it, because I ran my case all the way up to the Department of Justice. I called the FBI twice, went to see the FBI locally in person, and all he could say was, do you want to know what I would do if I was a targeted individual and they were contaminating my water? They just admitted it by saying that to me, but then they don't do anything about it, right?
Yeah. I've had meetings in Washington. I've had meetings in Philly and Harrisburg with FBI. I've had meetings with federal judges. These programs were outlawed in 1974 by the church hearings, by the Senate. They were outlawed. They're illegal.
They are illegal, but they continue to do it to see how we'll react, and then make up different psychological evaluations of people to say they're psychopaths, they've got mental illness that you don't have, and you know that you don't have it. You've never been diagnosed. It doesn't run in your family, but they're part of the PSYOPs program.
They ran it in my family. They labeled my dad schizophrenic.
Yeah.
My oldest brother was Sammy. He was born in 1949. He was Air Force. He was part of the LSD experiments.
Yeah.
Him on Christmas Day in Santa Barbara, California. My friend was a mortician, so I called him up to bring the body back from Santa Barbara. He got the body back from LA Airport and called me right away. There was not one mark on his neck. My father was murdered up in New York City in 2001. And my youngest brother, Tommy, killed over Hills, North Carolina, 1996. All wrongful death complaints.
Yeah.
I stay here. If I'd leave, I'd be gone. They hit me with cars. I've had 2 or 3 people rear-ended me.
Yeah.
In 1987, somebody went through a stop sign, T-boned me. My car flipped upside down. I had to crawl out the window. I was lucky I survived that. I crawled out the window. People looked, stared at me. They couldn't believe I got out of the car. I got bullet holes in my 2 upstairs windows.
I saw that you wrote basically a book. It's like 221 pages.
Well, I'm an expert in IT. I built computer systems for companies going way back.
Right. But a lot of people don't know how far technology has come.
Oh,
I hired a private investigator and I said, this PSYOPs program, not a lot of people could come out the other side mentally okay without being buried. So how did you get out of the mental institutions and out of imprisonment? Because they'll try to institutionalize you one way or another.
In college, I aced business law. 1987, when this started, first thing I did was I went to Suffolk County Library in Boston, Massachusetts. I paid a clerk $100 cash and had him do research for me. The first thing I researched was the illegal repossession of my airplane. I had attorneys. I went to attorneys from New York, Lancaster, Florida, California, and they all did the same thing. Oh, wow.
They take your money and then they don't do anything about it because they don't believe that this is happening.
They're a part of it.
They are a part of it. So is the judicial system.
They're waiting for you, and they're saying, I don't have anything here.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do anything about that. And like I say, I'm an expert in IT. In 1987, I recorded people on the telephone. I recorded videos of people all along the way. I have a Google Cloud with over 400,000 files in it of evidence and research. And you know what Google did 3 weeks ago?
They locked you out of your account.
Yeah, they declined my payment. In 1991, I had a search engine before Google had a search engine. Seriously. I had patent work on the digital movie with Tony and my financial firm. My financial firm, in 9 months, we were in 5 states. And I built it.
Yeah.
I had 2 partners, me and Bob, but I did all the legal work. I incorporated all the companies.
Did they tell you why they released you from prison once they incarcerated you? Because it sounds very similar to a story of this gentleman that I know here in Utah, where they accused him of embezzling money, but it was his business partner who ratted him out instead of him being the one that went to prison, and they put him in solitary confinement for 365 days, and he had to be his own attorney to get himself out. I think he spent 8 years in imprisonment, but and a full year in solitary confinement. So how did you get out of that situation?
Well, in 1987, a fellow came to see me in prison, an attorney. His name was Bob Byers, and we went to junior high together. I got bailed out, but they never imposed any type of bail conditions. I went to California. They knew they were phony. They knew I had documentation on everything.
Yeah.
They couldn't really enforce anything. Now, the other times, I know the law. The first thing I do is I file court cases, paperwork while I'm in prison. They have to do the mailing for me. They have to do the copies for me. My time in prison in 2019, I was in for 9 months for knocking on my wall and stalking my neighbors. That's what they said I did. I didn't do it. One time, the counselor brought a box, 500 sheets of paper, copies for me. I mean, drove them nuts. And I went through 68 envelopes that were mailed out to different courts, different judges, kept my cases ongoing. Same thing in the psych hospital. First thing I did in the psych ward is ask for a 303 hearing. The most I ever spent in the psych ward was 10 days.
Yeah.
Boys come out without treatment. They never, you have to take this or do that. None, ever.
Yeah.
And I have all my records. Medical.
Yes, good. I pulled mine too. They could only keep me for 24 hours. They couldn't keep me longer than that because I wasn't crazy. So it's all very interesting. It's like an elaborate game that they're playing with all these perpetrators that are put in place like bad actors in a B movie.
There's phony cops in the neighborhood. They took this a step further than me. In 2005, when I filed my first federal lawsuit, that's when they hit me with the microwaves hard.
Okay.
You know what they started doing with me back then? Telepathic sex. Telepathic sex with people.
Interesting.
All types of people. Celebrities, politicians, neighbors, everybody I see on TV. And it's more intimate than physical sex. I mean, it's crazy. And they do it for a reason. They do it, A, because I'm isolated, just to torture me.
Yeah.
And B, cause problems with the spouses, with the friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's perverted. Well, how'd you go free from being targeted for 20 years?
I only found out in just recently last year. Looking back, it was probably since the beginning of 2020, the end of 2019. When I refused to get the COVID vaccination, I was ostracized from the family, and people, started turning against me. And then they started defying my character and talking about me behind my back, saying I was a drug addict and that I was mentally unstable. They tried to arrest me because I pulled a power switch trying to save my neighbors from direct energy warfare, because I sat on the porch and my hair went from straight to curly. Wow. Like all the way out here. And I was like, someone's going to pay for what they've done to me. I don't know who's going to pay, but hopefully the more people that come out and start speaking against this targeted individual program from NASA, DARPA, the CIA, the FBI, that we'll get somewhere.
I could work for DARPA. In 91, as far as the CD-ROM, we were a secure facility. We could do classified work. I could work for DARPA in this. And then, you know what DARPA, the DOD did? It was for the Defense Mapping Agency. They cheated. So I got Robert Walker, who was chairman of the Science and Space Committee. Now he's congressman. On a protest, I won the protest. They cheated. I called them, and they had to rebid the whole contract over. They shut me down after that. They locked me out and same old. They love to lock. That's what they do. They lock me out. They just lock the doors.
Yeah.
In places. And I have no recourse because the police are waiting for me.
Right.
To arrest me for anything, for nothing.
Even just jaywalking across the street or for nothing, right?
I have evaluation. And I computerized companies, accounting at $650 million with the antitrust and the wrongful. That's what they owe me. $650 million. I was a millionaire in 87.
And you should still be today if they wouldn't asset strip you. But I've experienced that.
I would just like to live life like be free. I can't walk out front without people coming out, honking at me, driving by, spitting at me. It's beautiful weather and I can't go outside of my house.
Yeah. I mean, the intimidation tactics that they use. But it's like if there's no face, there's no case. And unless they start coming out and there is actually a whistleblower that has courage enough to say this program never stopped. From MK Ultra, it just got more and more advanced and it changed disguises under a different name than the MK Ultra mind control projects.
Yes, this company I blew the whistle on, Ted Koppel, aired a Nightline, ABC Nightline, which was popular back in the 90s. 23rd, 1991, exposed International Signal Control, ISC, and the CIA. Hey, their first contract was for the NSA. The Lancaster company had 5,000 employees. Their first contract was with the NSA. Now, they were building a whole host of technologies, some of which might be used in these satellites. Now, in September of 1991, Robert Gates was being confirmed for director of CIA. They spent 10 minutes asking him questions about Lancaster and ISC. I have that on video. Deep state, this might be ground zero. Like I say, they hit my dad in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of these weapons, the synthetic telepathy, the MK Ultra, back then they say they were chipping people, but they were using satellites. The Russians used satellites against us in the 50s on embassy in Moscow. They disguised everything to make something look like something else. Or now the big thing, the past 10 years, lookalikes.
Yeah.
Look like.
Yes, I heard about the doppelgangers.
And you know what? With these 3D printers, you can make a mask of anybody. You can't tell they're wearing a mask. And then they beef them up with fat suits and everything.
I saw those 3D printers, and it's very interesting. So when everybody was asleep in their COVID comas, all of the communications companies said that they were coming out with these G cell phone towers, but they are not. They're called Gwen towers, and they are for slow kill, radiation, mind control, zapping you while you're, driving your car to get into a car accident, and then it just goes on and on and on.
You remember Nashville?
Have I been to Nashville?
No, Nashville a few years ago.
Okay.
Set off a bomb in downtown Nashville.
Okay.
It was his beat, the 5Gs, and nobody got hurt. It's amazing.
Yeah. But if they have you all quarantined in your house, then they can put up these slow kill devices wherever they want in the middle of the night without people knowing anything because they were already fear-mongered at that point.
In 2021, I had to sell my car because they vandalized it too much. They kept hitting the battery.
Mm-hmm.
Last Friday, they hit my third scooter. So I got to get around town with a walker and a bus system. Now, luckily, the bus comes right up the street. The bus drivers leave me off 3 feet from the curb with a three-wheel walker. And
yeah, so that's what I did. One of my solo casts on was asset stripping and how they could make your vehicle break down by just giving it like a volt. They could stop your vehicle if they wanted to.
I filed papers, the Francis Key Bridge collapse. That barge, that's what they did to the barge.
Yeah.
I filed papers everywhere for that.
Mm-hmm.
They hit it with microwaves. Somebody,
yes.
You can't trace microwaves. See, you can't trace the source. It could be Iran, China, us, Soviets, and everybody has them now.
So were there specific moments or events where you realized that you were a targeted individual? How did you protect yourself, obviously, from future harm, which you're still in it?
Well, it was June 23rd, 1987, when the next day everyone turned on me. Then they locked me out of my office.
Yeah, it was like a sting operation where you're standing there going, what the hell is happening here? And this is not normal, but they're going to turn it around. They're going to tell everybody that I'm crazy.
So when I turned to the law, that's what protected me.
Okay.
Then I went and got my dad's criminal file in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So I filed my first federal lawsuit in 2005.
Okay.
I won in federal courts. I beat attorneys from here, Jersey, Philadelphia, Chicago. And guess who was on the panel in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals? Donald Trump's sister, Marianne Trump Barry. And I won unanimously by those three judges. They said all my cases had to go back for further litigation. Now, right after that, I filed a motion to withdraw without prejudice with Judge McLaughlin in Philadelphia, which she granted. I have a right to go back into court for all the claims, but I had no access to the courts. They shut down and hacked me out of my Pacer account. I used to be able to file federal court papers electronically. Now I can do paper.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Pacer and exchange systems. I have to have that because I own a title company. If you could go back, is there one piece of advice that you wish you could have done different, knowing that you were a targeted individual?
Not really.
Because it's hard to get out of it once you're in, even though you know what's happening to you. And you try to express it to other people and they're like, no, that sounds crazy. That can't happen. And you're like, yes, it can.
See, my problem is that all the courts are corrupted.
They are. The judicial system in this country is corrupt.
They have all the evidence, have all my complaints, but they just cheat. And now how the courts cheat now? There's a loophole. You can file complaints against judges, state, federal, even local.
Okay.
But what they do is they use the clerks. The clerks never got the document. Sometimes the clerks even change what I send them, change the complaint. You can't file complaints against clerks. You have to sue them.
That makes sense though, right? And then who has the money to sue them? Because you've already been,
I get corporates. I can, I don't have to pay filing fees everywhere. In 2009, I was able to collect Social Security disability for being a victim of U.S. sponsored mind control. I get $1,800 a month.
I know, but that's not enough. I don't feel like for being a mind control victim when you didn't consent or consensually say, yes, please experiment on me. I don't think that the government is paying you enough money.
No, it's not near enough, but it gets me to buy printer paper, mailings, postage, and the food.
Right.
I get food stamps. I know the government subsidies and how they work and how to pay them.
Which is good because when they're asset stripping you and you're trying to retire and you used to be a millionaire, but they ruined that because they took all your money.
Yeah, they took everything from me.
Mm-hmm.
They come in here day and night when I'm upstairs, drugged, sleeping, gaslight, everything.
Yeah.
Take it or break it. I got to replace it. And
Right.
16, I had $60,000 in the bank, cash. It went to replace things and repair things.
And which is what they do to asset strip you too. I talked about home repairs in my last social media video of how they can asset strip you little by little without you even knowing it for a minute until you've spent an exorbitant amount of money trying to repair what's been disrepair, which is their cause of doing the disrepair in the first place.
I'm lucky. I had a painting and renovating business during college in the 70s. I can do a lot of things myself, but I haven't been able to tie a shoe in probably 12 years. I'm so crippled, I can't bend. Put me in the middle of the floor. If I can't crawl to something, I couldn't get up. That's how bad crippled I am. And when I was in prison all those times, I kept meticulous notes.
Good. Yeah.
Diaries, notes, memos.
What does it say on your hat? The whistleblower.
I make my own hats.
I like that.
I have Trump hat, Biden hat, I have everybody. ISC whistleblower regarding the CIA and NSA, 1987. I just made this the other night.
I like it. It looks good. It starts where your targeting started.
I got hats for my brothers, for my dad, for dry cleaning plant. My father, in the 60s, invented a filtration system for the dry cleaning industry. He went to dry cleaning school after the Navy. He was a smart man. I was the closest person to my dad and my brother Sam and all my brothers.
So was the filtration system that your dad created to purify the air?
No, solvents for dry cleaning. When I moved back home here, I was born and raised here from Conestoga. They extorted that house in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
My dad saved it. He had a newsletter from the Dry Cleaning Institute of America down in Baltimore where he went to school. In there, the filtration system. Now, he couldn't hire a patent attorney or anything. He didn't do that, but it was noted in the newsletter. So that's I used to work there when I was 12 or 13. I did everything in there. My mom and dad taught me everything.
So what's your 1-year plan? I'm going to ask you that.
Well, every day's the same for me. I haven't been out of the house in a couple of days. Tomorrow I'll go out and I'll prepare some of my court filings.
Okay.
I'll go to the post office and go downtown. I used to have a drink at this place called the Shot and Bottle at Penn Square. Lancaster is very historic. And there's another element in this, which is the Masons. They came after me in the 80s. The Masons.
The Freemasons, they're part of it.
Oh, they're tricksters. All they do is try to deceive. That's all.
Yeah.
They try to deceive you.
Yeah. So Alex Jones, and a lot of people don't know who Alex Jones is, which I'm completely surprised because he talks about the elites and the deep state and who's really running the country behind, the scenes, the presidents, the global agenda of the UN, the WHO, the WEF, the ones pulling the strings. And until they go down, we're not going to have any freedom, I don't think. Because
Alex had all the experts on. He had Dr. John Hall, Dr. Nick Page, I think he had Dr. Robert Duncan too. Robert Duncan helped build these weapons. When he found out they were using them against his U.S. citizens, he left all this intel community and started lectures. Now, all these whistleblowers that are intel people and DOD people, they sign non-disclosures, so they can't go in court, but they can do lectures.
Yeah. Same with Dr. Robert Malone. Robert Malone helped invent the mRNA vaccination, and he was coerced into taking it and then regretted it.
Yeah. I filed an amicus for Sirhan Sirhan. He wasn't the shooter. And Robert Kennedy, who joined up with Trump, he went on Today's Show in 2000, I think it was 17 or 18, saying that half the family doesn't believe Sirhan was the killer. The California Board of Pardons recommended releasing Sirhan, but the governor won't release him. And I filed an amicus in that case before that happened with Robert Kennedy for him being a Manchurian assassin.
Yes.
Ted Kaczynski, he talked about the voices and what they were doing.
I don't think a lot of people know what the Manchurian candidate stuff is.
Well, here's how they do it. They can put voices in your head, but they can also be your inner voice. When they're your inner voice, like if you close your eyes and count to 10, but you can't tell if it's you or them. You don't know you're being hit with these microwaves with these hidden voices.
Yep.
What they do is nudge you or else piss you off and get you to act violent. Now, Nicholas Cruz was trained by ROTC to shoot. He was trained by the military to shoot.
Yep.
When he was arrested, he did an interview for an hour and a half, and they released it in courts. The interview, all he talked about the voices and what they told him to do. Kill, hurt. I mean, it's crazy.
There's so much documentation and so much information out there, but the mainstream media is not going to let people say what's going on, even though we know it. I think it probably has started to get better since the purchase of X and freedom of speech. Hopefully there will be compensation for targeted individuals.
If you read the, what's the book in 1987? Anyway, I'll think of the name of it. And they tell how the CIA infiltrates news agencies or takes them over or creates their own.
Yes.
So the media is not going to do anything regarding these issues. Joe Biden awarded $127 million to the people that worked for the government that were hit with these weapons. They call it Havana syndrome. Right? The people that worked for the government got paid. And they're hanging and they're crucifying us.
So I watched the Department of Defense go up to the National Security Administration asking for compensation and a health code for the veterans that were hit with Havana syndrome. The guy from the Department of Justice said there's a new form of weaponry. There's no entrance or exit wound. It makes the individual think that they're going crazy. They basically were saying that they were just using it on military. I just looked at that video and I was like, they're using it on the civilian population.
Yeah.
And none of this is okay. It's very sick, dark, twisted, and I hope that we do get compensated for the torture that they've been putting us through.
You look on the bottom of my emails, there's blue links. They're all videos. There's some of the best videos out there. The 60 Minutes video with the committee hearing is on there. My YouTube channel has 230 videos.
Okay.
You know,
I'll have to look at it. I didn't have a chance to yesterday since we spoke just on Monday and today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
I've been a little busy, but I'm grateful that you sent me the email with your the hate crime report, which is, so that I could read a little bit about that before I called you. I'm grateful that you came on to the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say that can encourage people?
Well, I have a document, countermeasures, how to counter this. Vibration takes away a lot of the pain. I sleep all hours of the day. I average 10 to 12 hours, 24-hour period sleeping. I'll work 4 or 5 hours, sleep a couple hours, 5 hours, sleep 6 hours. So you got to find ways to counter the symptoms of what they're doing to you. And you can do it, but you got to learn how to do it.
Correct. I think some people are hit harder than other people. Some people that I've spoken to have V2K nonstop, where they make them ashamed of their bodies and will say degrading remarks to them. But if you have any information, what's your YouTube channel?
Advanced Media Group. It's under Advanced Media Group. And my Twitter page is under Advanced Media Group.
Okay, perfect.
They do all sorts of perverted things as far as how they hit you, but people don't realize you don't have to have skull or synthetic telepathy to be a victim.
Correct.
People are hit with just one or two symptoms. Some people are hit with all of them.
Yep.
It really depends on. Did you ever interview Dr. Len Burr?
I haven't interviewed Dr. Len Bear yet. I went to the Targeted Justice rally in August, the end of August, and he was there. They were hitting him pretty hard while we were at the rally. I didn't really have a chance to interact with him so much. I have Richard Lighthouse and Anna Toledo's information. I have invited them to come on the show. I just have not heard back from them. So hopefully they'll come on and give us information to help.
There's a lot of fraudsters out there that say they're this and they're that, but
Yeah.
Did you ever see any of Samola's interviews? Do you know who Karen Stewart is? She's a whistleblower. You talk to her on the phone, and she blew the whistle in the NSA a while back, and they targeted her. They used a female to sleep her way up through the NSA. What she did was she exposed a weapon system that we bought from Russia that didn't work. She saved a couple thousand military lives, but they hit her. They killed her dog. They do everything to her.
Yeah.
He'd be a good person to interview.
Okay. I have heard of her name now that you mention it and say that they hit her after she became a whistleblower. I'll have to reach out to her. Is she on YouTube and social media?
I know you can find her on LinkedIn, maybe Facebook. I got out of Facebook in 2016. In 2005, I was driving out to California. I went to visit my brother, who's a doctor in Austin.
Okay.
And I was at a military museum. I thought I'll go browse around. I had to go through the guard gate. These two guys come up in suits, tell me they're from the DIA, Defense Investigation Agency. Interrogated me for 2.5 hours. Called my brother, made sure I had a place to stay, just harassing me. Went through my car, all my documents. Then in 2016, the NSA did it to me down there at the NSA at Fort Meade. These people kept me for 2.5 hours, dog stiffed my car, interrogated me. They kept rotating NSA police officers around to me, one after another.
I think what people should realize when they're trying to defend themselves now is you ask for their credentials, you ask to see their badge, and you film them while they're doing the nefarious acts to you so that you have documentation of it. Do not let anyone say that there's someone that you don't know.
Don't let them in your house.
Don't let them in your house without a warrant. Ask them information and film them while they're doing it if they continue to intimidate you.
15 years ago, back 2005, 2006, I had some research. The CIA has invisible walls. They can put a door in your wall and you'll never see it. Connect houses, technology. When I started in 1987, these machines were new. So through the evolution of technology, I had to buy an external hard drive to hold 650 megabytes. You know how much it was? $2,500. Just 650 megabytes. That's how far we've come now.
But they're only giving us a little bit of what's out there. They're not giving all of it. And it's time for some transparency between government and civilians.
Yeah.
Right?
They hold back. What they do is they'll commercialize technology after they've used it for 10, 15 years, 20 years when it can't come back to them. They'll put just like Elon Musk with Neuralink, the chip.
Correct.
The chip. Chip people.
Yep.
And Facebook was working on technology. Google, Microsoft, they're all working on this type of technology, this neuro technology.
But a lot of people don't know that the government created the internet. They created the internet for a reason through Google to try to control us, manipulate us, brainwash us, turn us into cyborg zombies so that we don't know what's going on. But once you unveil that shadow and you know that the government created the internet to try and control us, you can never unsee like that piece of information, right?
And technology is always a two-edged sword. It can be used for good or evil.
That's correct.
All technology. A knife is like that. You cut a piece of apple or kill somebody.
Right? It's crazy. I am so grateful that you came on to the show today, and I want you to stay strong.
I will. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Unveiling Shadows podcast. I hope today's episode has shed light on the experiences that too often remain hidden. If you or someone you know has a story to share, please reach out to me. Remember, you're not alone and your voice matters. Follow me on social media and subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories. Until next time, stay strong and keep unveiling the shadows.